Graham Rossini says big changes are coming to Sun Devils basketball this offseason, and none are nearly as big as a long overdue renovation to Desert Financial Arena.
You are Locked On Sun Devils, your daily podcast on the Arizona State Sun Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Richie Bradshaw, and I will be your guide for everything Arizona State Sun Devils. Shout out to my everydayers who are here every day, and thanks to all of you for making us your first listen of the day. Today's episode, it's brought to you by our best friends over at FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Ladies and gentlemen, what is going on with Sun Devils basketball? Renovations are coming to Desert Financial Arena. What is the latest in the Bobby Hurley drama? How is this roster going to look by the end of the season? All of that is coming up on the show. Real quick, just want to address, yes, the beard is gone. And no, it has nothing to do with the Sun Devils potentially losing out the year. I said I would shave it if that happens. We will go full clean shaven if that happens. But yeah, beard is gone. If you're on YouTube, I know that is going to be a shock to some of you guys. Anyways, Graham Rossini. Earlier today, he was on Arizona Sports 98.7. I think he was talking to Bickley and Murata, which that is one of my least favorite shows that 98.7 has. But what he had said was that Desert Financial was getting a renovation and what he called a multi-year renovation. That is so amazing to hear, man. Like, we have been waiting for this for years, longer than the show's been around, and we're coming up on 4 years in August. I mean, this has been something that we've needed forever. It was Wells Fargo Arena way back when, and oh my God, I've said before they need to demolish this thing and then find a way to work out a schedule with ASU hockey somehow, some way, to where you can play your games at Mullet Arena while they build this thing up. But whatever the plan is, I'm so happy that it's here. And what this tells me is, yeah, it's still gonna be the same stadium, nothing's moving, but we're going to see changes year after year. Kind of like what happened with the football stadium when they started doing their renovations. Is they started with the south end zone, and then they moved to the north end zone, and then all sorts of amenities were changed and everything. And that feels like the same direction that we're going to go here with Desert Financial Arena. And I am so here for it. For the love of God, please upgrade the seats and give the media something a little bigger than like 7 seats, because I would like to start going to games more often and there's no place to sit. Please, Graham, give me something a little bit better. I don't need this huge little parlor or anything, but give me something where like I can sit down next to somebody and not have to worry about either standing up or being shoulder to shoulder, elbow to elbow. But this is great news. I have a big question though, and that's, why did this take so long? Why did this take years of public outcry, of players complaining, of coaches complaining, fans complaining? It's taken so freaking long. And it just goes to show, again, that Ray Anderson was inept at his job at best. He was nothing but a failure as an athletic director. I've never seen a lazier individual who was in charge of any kind of sport, let alone an athletic director for a college. Like, GMs and owners in different sports and managers and head coaches. Like, I've never seen anyone nearly as lazy as Ray Anderson was. Like, settling for mediocrity doesn't even begin to describe what he was doing at Arizona State. And sure, he started the renovations at Sun Devil Stadium, but God, it felt like we were pulling teeth from him. And it felt even more difficult to get Desert Financial taken care of. And here comes Graham Rossini, who is a year into the job, not even a year into the job, and he's turned the football program around, and he has help to be able to add scholarships for baseball. Baseball's hopefully turning around. He's building up the football program again. They're driving NIL, and now he is renovating the basketball arena. And I don't think you guys realize how big of a deal this is, not just for the fan experience, but for recruiting. These kids are going to want to come to Arizona State and play basketball here if the amenities are able to be drastically upgraded. Like, I want this place to be so welcoming and so attractive aesthetically for these kids to walk in and go, wow, there is so much here in Tempe for me to use to my advantage to start playing better basketball. And like, it's that you look good, you feel good, you play good. Like, it's that kind of energy when you were able to give these kids something that is worth looking at, something that is worth working in, and it just increases the overall product. Like, Bobby Hurley's already recruiting at a high rate. We're going to talk about Hurley more in the second segment, but imagine if you give a high-level recruiter like Bobby Hurley even more ammunition to say, yeah, why not? Why not? Have you considered Arizona State? You should consider Arizona State. Look at everything that's going through right now. Look at the way the NIL is building up, and look at this brand new stadium. That's a big deal for these kids. It's so beyond impressive how quickly Rossini has taken the initiative here to actually invest time, invest money, invest capital in more ways than one to build up more than just a football program. Again, they're adding scholarships to baseball, and they're finding ways to get a more competitive team. Let's get some pitching in here because we can hit all day long, but when you're losing games 9-8, it's hard to be sustainable. And now they're placing themselves in a position where, yeah, we can add a little more depth around the roster. And we don't just have hitters. We've got pitchers. We got relievers. We got better guys on defense. Like, all of that matters. Look at the football. Like, we are retaining these players now. We returned over 50 players from this last season to go into this year. They're buying into the culture, right? Kenny Dillingham's doing a great job. The veterans on the roster are doing a great job. It's a young team that's got tons of future NFL players. There's so much there for the football team. But a lot of that is because of the resources and the time and the energy that Rossini is putting into the football program and now the baseball program. And look at the way that the volleyball team has taken off. I mean, ASU has found a way to be competitive all across their different sports because investments are being made, both financial investments, actual, like, not emotional investments, but I mean, they're getting a athletic director who cares about all of the sports, not just football. And football drives everything in, sure, but this is a athletic director with Graham Rossini that is so interested in just making Arizona State a sports school. We're not just a football school. We're not a hockey school, not a baseball school, not a basketball school. We don't want to be focused on one thing. We want to be an everything school. We want to have stuff that offers everything for these kids to come in and just have a good time. There's so much to do in Tempe as it is. And now you are giving your students the opportunity to go see good sports teams across the board. Volleyball, hockey, football, wrestling has always been a strength. Baseball is getting better. Maybe softball is able to start turning it around too. And now you're talking about playoff opportunities. You're talking about going to the NCAA tournament, maybe making a return to Omaha for baseball. Like, this is phenomenal. And we're really seeing everything come together. And now that we are seeing how quickly Rossini has said, yep, this has been a problem for years, and we are going to invest in Desert Financial Arena, and we're going to give it drastic upgrades, a multi-year renovation. It took a couple of years for ASU football stadium to get re-renovated, and it's a pretty darn good stadium now. It's not the best in the country, but oh my God, is it miles ahead of where it was? We might be able to see the same thing with Desert Financial Arena. And you've got boosters that are invested in this program. So yeah, there is a very realistic chance that we're going to have an athletic director and a supporting room of of coaches and alumni and boosters and former players and all sorts of stuff that will give in their investments, their physical investments, their emotional investments, their financial investments into this program building up. And Desert Financial is going to be better. I mean, you're already at a pretty low point. So there's not much that you could do that wouldn't be an improvement at this point. And if you are serious about taking several years to make this place better, who knows, man? Like, we could be looking at, I wouldn't call it a state-of-the-art basketball arena. It could be, but you can take this thing from a 2 out of 10 to a 7 out of 10 or maybe an 8 out of 10. That's huge, man. So biggest takeaway, Rossini takes the initiative with the athletics. And it's not a surprise that everything across the board has now been improving. This is a very exciting time to dive into Sun Devil athletics. And yeah, the basketball program is kind of on the down right now. That could be changing very soon, though. The Bobby Hurley saga has another wrinkle in it, and that's coming up next on the show. This is the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It's time to talk about our friends over at FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started. There's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game. So even if you miss the opening tip-off or you want to get a fourth quarter comeback for yourself, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, well, you can combine your bets, your live bets, by the way, into a same-game parlay. I love FanDuel. I love that every moment stays exciting for me because, again, if I want to take a live bet and I see that a player is trending in the right direction to hit a certain point total or make a certain amount of threes, yeah, I'm taking a look at that. And if it doesn't matter if I'm looking for a late game rally, if I'm looking for a player to hit that clutch streak, I never feel like I am missing my chance because FanDuel is so interactive for me. And speaking of interactive, the app is really easy to use. And when you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers will get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets if your new customer $5 bet wins. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thanks as always, guys, for tuning in to make Locked On Sun Devils your first listen of the day. Shout out my everydayers who are here every day. A new wrinkle in the Bobby Hurley saga, as if it couldn't get more dramatic and it couldn't have more going on with it. We got 2 updates for you. The first came around last week. It was less than a week ago. I want to say the report I saw was about 5 days ago, and I haven't been able to get around to it. And obviously today is the perfect chance to talk about it. You had Graham Rossini, the guy we just spoke of, gave him high praise, who said that Bobby Hurley, and this is a direct quote, Hurley is the head coach until he's not. And we're going to talk about that more in just a second. But clearly, Rossini is giving him a vote of confidence. Do you believe it? Is this just playing face and like talk is cheap, or does he actually mean this? I don't know, but we'll explore that in a second. Where I want to start, now that we got that comment out of the way, is he might be losing the locker room, man. The losing streak is up to 5 games after falling to TCU over the weekend. 74-70. That was at home, by the way. ASU is now 3-11 in conference play. There is no possible scenario where they can even remotely get close to 500 at this point. There's 6 games left. By the way, you're playing number 5 Houston tonight. I don't care that it's at home. That's a loss. You still have to play Arizona one more time, and you still have to play Texas Tech one more time. So in your final 6 games, you still have 3 ranked opponents. And the teams that you still have on your schedule, Kansas State, who already beat you, BYU, who already beat you, and then you'll play Utah for the first time this year. And Utah is a whatever program. I want to say they've been kind of on a hot streak recently. So, yeah, 3 of their last 5 games are wins. They're 15-11 and 7-8 overall. So Maybe ASU is going to lose out, man. Maybe ASU is going to lose out. That would be disgusting. But Hurley said post-game interview after the TCU game that some players did not want to talk to him. They refused to talk to him. That is not good. And you don't need to be some expert to look at that and go, I don't think that's ideal. It is certainly anything but ideal. That's bad, man. When your players don't want to talk to you after a loss, the players that you recruited, the players that you brought in, the players who believed in your vision and bought into everything that you were putting out on the court for these guys to learn, to model themselves after you and become impressive young men. They don't want to talk to you. That's about as bad as it's going to get. And typically in the sports world where we start to see those things happen and players don't want to talk to their coach after losses, it feels like that's kind of it. That's the dagger. That's game over, man. Game over. Like, it doesn't get much worse than that. Now, keep in mind, something I want to remind you is a couple of weeks ago, I can't remember the game, but after a loss, Adam Miller, the star, I guess he's a point guard for the team. I'm not sure which guard he is, but he's your best shooter. He's one of my favorite guys to watch. Neither here nor there. He had said in a post-game conference interview that he was hosting a players-only meeting. Now, that is not inherently a bad thing. Sometimes it shows off that, hey, coach is building us up and everything, but I'm the leader of this locker room. I'm going to sit you down, and I'm going to tell you right now that we need to start changing and doing X, Y, and Z better. That's not a bad thing to have a players-only meeting. But now we're at a point where the players don't want to talk to Bobby Hurley, and you look back on that. You look back on Adam Miller saying, we're having a players-only meeting. And you kind of think to yourself, like, maybe there's a little more to it than just a rally the troops kind of thing. Hurley might have lost his locker room. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised either, because when you're losing games, it's hard to get guys to buy in. When you're losing games the way that ASU is losing games right now, it's even tougher. And then you take into account that some of the guys that are on this team have been here multiple years and have seen the exact same stuff. Every year, it's the same problems that come with this Hurley team. Is they start off hot, they get to conference play, they wet the bed, they get very sluggish down the stretch, and then they're one and done in the conference tournament, and they don't make the bracket. That's not changed. We're looking at the exact same thing in a much better basketball conference, keep in mind. Like, it's no longer just Arizona and then UCLA more often than not, and then some good years from Stanford and Washington and Oregon and USC every once in a while. No, this is Kansas, Houston. Arizona is still around. You've got Baylor's been fine this year. Iowa State has been pretty darn good. Texas Tech has been good. Like, the playing field stepped up big time for ASU. And not only are they not stepping up, but it feels like they're playing even worse than they have been previously. So Hurley might be losing this locker room. Let's go back to Graham Rossini and his statement that, quote, Hurley is their head coach until he's not. Granted, this comment was made before the TCU game. So who knows? Maybe Rossini has a change of heart. But there's a couple of takeaways from the quotes that he gave. Direct quotes here. I have 3 things I want to talk about specifically. Number 1, Rossini said a lot of season left and they can turn it around. Okay, are we sure there's a lot of season left? Because even when you made this comment, there was only 7 games. You were 12-12 at the time. You are now 12-13. Your best case scenario was 19-13. And granted, that would mean you have 3 ranked wins in there. That's awesome, but that's not happening. It just isn't. Is there really enough time even if you somehow get hot in the tournament, right? Even if somehow you get to the Big 12 tournament, you win 2 or 3 games or whatever, I don't know that there's enough time here for ASU to turn it around. I really don't, especially with the remaining schedule. I see it. I see definitively 3 more losses. Definitively 3 more losses. And the other 3 teams, I don't know how I feel about them either. You already lost to 2 of those teams once, and you're playing a Utah team that's playing good basketball right now. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe ASU is going to lose out. It's not looking good. Second thing he said, after the Texas Tech loss, one of the things that he said was, quote, "We were in it until the final seconds," and then he said that they were close to turning it around. Graham Rossini, I love you, man. You must not listen to Locked On Sun Devils because we don't believe in moral victories here. You can take some good out of a win, some good out of a loss, but there are no moral victories. To say we were right there, we were so close, I just don't like that, man. Wins are wins, losses are losses. I think Graham knows that too. There is a part of me that really thinks that Graham Rossini is transparent enough to take a look at wins and losses and identify, like, yeah, there is some positive, but overall that was a bad game kind of thing. Third thing he wanted to say, and this is a really interesting quote here, and I need a little bit of time to dissect this quote. This might bleed into the final segment, honestly. He said, quote, "Unfair, we put all the pressure of expectations on the coach, Bobby Hurley." Okay, let's start with this. Should we hold the entire team responsible? Should we hold the entire coaching staff, the entire department responsible and accountable for what's going on? Absolutely. Absolutely, we should. Every single expectation should not just be on Bobby Hurley's shoulders. It needs to be on the players. It needs to be on the remainder of the staff. It needs to be on the department. It needs to be on the athletic director to see that the expectations of this basketball team are constantly falling short. It's not just a Bobby Hurley problem. However, this is year 10. This is year 10 of the Bobby Hurley era. We talked on this show, I want to say it was last week, of the 25 highest rated recruits in program history since recruiting was recorded for 1 stars to 5 stars. He has almost 20 of the 25. It's either 17 or 18 of the highest rated recruits have come in the 10-year span that Hurley has been here. He has recruited 3 5 stars and several guys who are right there for being 5 stars. And they have nothing to show for. Now you're going into this season, the 2024-25 season, when you had 2 5 stars on the team, a top 50 recruit as well that was joining this roster. You had a terrific transfer class, and you had some great returners like Adam Miller. You were supposed to compete. You were supposed to be borderline a slam dunk to go into the tournament, and you're not even close. In fact, this is one of the worst seasons I can remember for Sun Devil basketball. And I thought that last year was absolutely dreadful. It turns out this year might be even worse, and it might be worse because of the talent that it has right now. So at some point, this does fall on Bobby Hurley. Everyone needs to take some responsibility. Absolutely. I am not saying this is 100% a Bobby Hurley problem, but this is not a 50-50 problem. This is not a everyone takes 20% problem. This is a Bobby Hurley is owning at least 75% of the blame right now. And I wouldn't blame you if you went higher. 80%, I could get on board with 90% of this is on Bobby Hurley. They are not in a good spot right now. Rossini's comments. Is he playing face? Does he really mean it? I don't know. I'm leaving it up to you guys. Let me know in the comments what you think. You can hit me up on Twitter at RichieBrads36. What's the future of this roster? Whether Hurley is here or not, what are we looking at next season? Coming up next, this is the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You guys are the best fans in the world for tuning in to Locked On Sun Devils and making us your first listen of the day. And a shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. What is the look of this roster moving forward? I've said before that Hurley staying or going will determine the roster next year. There is a lot that is going to fall into place based on if Hurley is back for year 11 or if ASU is moving on. And quite frankly, I don't care who ASU gets. I don't care if it's the greatest basketball coach of all time. I don't care if it's the worst basketball coach of all time at any level, NBA, college, Euro, Chinese, whatever. I don't care who you are bringing in. This will be an entirely different roster next year if Bobby Hurley is gone. There's no question about it for me. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'd be willing to bet quite a bit. If Hurley is gone, you're not going to have hardly anybody on this year's roster that's back. First of all, you're losing 4 guys no matter what. And they're all starters. Adam Miller, BJ Freeman, Alston Mason, Bashir, Jihad. Out of eligibility after this year. Seniors and graduate transfers. They are gone. That's 4 of your 5 starters. That's already a huge hit. And we've seen the last 3 seasons that ASU has had to replace 4 of 5 starters each year. Now you have to do it again. Okay, well, now you are potentially losing your youngsters. Jayden Quaintance, highest recruit ever. Okay, he has to play 2 years of collegiate basketball because he reclassified and he will not turn 18 in time to be eligible for the 2025 NBA draft. He has to play 2 years. He's playing his first season at Arizona State. Here's my 2 questions. 1, JQ has said he wants to be the number 1 overall pick for 2026 or whenever he comes out. First question, is ASU the program to get you there? Bobby Hurley or not? Is ASU the program that gets you there? I don't know. Question number 2, if Hurley's gone, are you back? Like, regardless of being the number 1 pick, the man who recruited you here, the man who flipped you and convinced you to be the highest rated recruit ever in program history. Are you back? I don't know, especially if Hurley's gone. Okay, Josan Sanin. He is already declared for the draft. As far as I know, he can still play. I don't think he is signed or made a official commitment. He's just said, yeah, I'm going pro. I'm one and done. Okay, well, this season has not gone the way that he has wanted it to go. He has been banged up all year, and it has affected his play. He started off the year outstanding, and you're sitting there, you're like, yeah, that's a top 15 pick. But after the injuries, his shooting just hasn't been the same consistently. I don't know that going pro right now would be his best decision. I think he should return for another year to stay healthy and then have everyone look and go, yeah, that dude's shooting almost 50% from 3. Yeah, he's a first-round pick. But again, is ASU the place to get you to that point? I don't know. Amir Ali, the super high 4-star, a local kid, and a top 50 recruit in this year's class. He's not getting on the court, period. The only reason he's seeing minutes right now is because of the injuries. And I don't think that's an Amir Ali problem because I look at Ali and I'm like, there's a lot there. He has some talent, man. Like when he is shooting and he's on, he is a very good player. There's just some inconsistencies with him. And I think some of the inconsistency gets from not seeing the court enough. Okay, well, why would I want to return to a team that I'm not getting minutes for? Especially when the transfer portal enables these kids to find better spots for them. I don't know. I don't know if he's coming back regardless of Hurley here or not. If Hurley's gone, I really don't think he's coming back. Also noteworthy, Trevor Best was able to graduate early from high school last semester. He's on the team now. He's not seeing the court. I don't think that's a surprise simply because he's so young and he just got on the team. I think he's not getting on the court simply for the reason that he may not be ready for where ASU is at right now. Like the rest of the team has had half the season at this point. Trevor Best is trying to make a transition from high school hoops to collegiate hoops within like weeks. I think that's why he's not on the floor. I'd still like to see him out there, but Hurley leaves. If Jayden Quaintance leaves, because that was the whole reason that Trevor Best came here, he probably leaves with JQ, I imagine. Again, we already mentioned the seniors that are leaving, guys that could return. Sean Phillips, he's got one more year. Does he want to leave? Again, if he wants to go pro, he might go somewhere else. If Hurley's gone, the guy who brought him in might want to go. Austin Nunez, been injured, so we didn't get to see him this year, unfortunately. But we know that he's a good shooter when he is on the floor. We saw that his freshman year. Well, he transferred to Ole Miss last year, and then he transferred back to ASU, and he made a designation of like, I'm not going anywhere else. I am going to Arizona State. I don't know if that was specifically a Hurley thing. I think it's kind of easy to read between the lines there. If Hurley's gone, is he going to come back? There feels like so many players that are on this team are here for Bobby Hurley or are here to better themselves to get to the pros. So Hurley's gone. Dude, that's 10 potential departures here. You are losing your starting five. You are losing your sixth man. You are losing key depth players. 2 5-stars are gone. A high 4-star is gone. Terrific transfers are gone. This is a new roster from top to bottom. It's brand new. There is not going to be a lot of similarity and familiarity. And that's already been a problem for this program is you can't give these fans and these students and alumni to invest in a team and have a favorite player when it's a new roster every year. We had Frankie Collins for 2 years. That he was trending towards being the fan favorite, and then he transferred. Jayden Quaintance is the current fan favorite. He has to be here 2 years. He has to play college ball 2 years, I should say. He may not be here next year. You just have that problem of like, how am I supposed to buy into a program that is changing every single year? There are no Remy Martins. There are no Kamani Lawrences. There's no Trey Holders or Cody Justices on this team. There should be, and there just isn't. So Hurley's gone. I don't know how you fill this roster. I don't know who gets hired. I don't know if you can convince anybody to stay. But let's say Hurley stays. You're still losing 4 of your 5 starters. You could still lose Sannon if he goes pro or if he decides to go somewhere else. Quaintance could be gone as well. If he decides to go somewhere else to be a number 1 pick, Trevor Best could be gone too. I would hope that Sean Phillips and Austin Nunez would stay. There's other players on this team that are gone too. Bryson Long is going to be gone. Bobby Hurley Jr. is going to be gone. This is going to be a new roster, whether Hurley returns or not. But if Hurley is gone, it's brand new. I don't know who is still going to be here. But even if Hurley is back, he's going to have to do a lot of selling to get these kids to stay. But it's important to remember that the renovations are coming to this program. The renovations are coming to Desert Financial Arena. That is enough to reignite this program. If Hurley is gone, it might be attractive for a young head coach, someone who's looking to take a step up, or somebody who is just ready to take a step forward rather than stepping up from one conference to another. That could be a thing. Okay, well, maybe the new head coach recruits well. Maybe the investments to the program and to the arena are able to recruit well. Man, that's a lot of ifs I just said. That's a lot of ifs. Hurley's gone. It's a brand new team. Hurley stays. Who knows? What I do know is that the renovations that are coming to Desert Financial are massive for this team. And it's going to help get things more stabilized. Bobby Hurley, that drama just keeps getting crazier and crazier. The tea is hotter with every single week. And who knows what this roster is going to look like next year. What do you guys think? Are you excited for the renovations to Desert Financial? What do you want to see for Desert Financial? And what are your takes on the latest Bobby Hurley news? Let me know in the comments. You can hit me up on Twitter at RichieBrads36, the podcast at LO_Sun Devils. Wherever you're getting your shows, like, subscribe, turn on notifications. You'll get an update whenever we post new content. I appreciate each and every single one of you for tuning in to make Locked On Sun Devils your first listen of the day. And a shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. Thanks, as always, guys, for tuning in to the show. Could not be doing this without you all. We have more content on the way. The NFL Combine is right around the corner. Cam Scadaboo is the only player for the Sun Devils who's going. I don't think that's right. We have to talk about that. What does Cam Scadaboo have to do with the Combine to stand out? We got to talk about that too. That's all coming up very soon. I will see you guys next time. And until then, you keep it locked right here on Locked On Sun Devils.